Day 12 of the war between the United States, Israel, and Iran has brought new strikes, rising global tensions, and growing economic shockwaves around the world. What began as a confrontation between a few countries has now spread across much of the Middle East, pulling in Gulf states, disrupting global energy markets, and raising fears of a wider regional conflict. Over the next few minutes, here are the key developments shaping the conflict today. Oil crisis and attacks in the Strait of Hormuz. The biggest economic development today came from the International Energy Agency, as 32 countries agreed to release 400 million barrels of oil from their emergency reserves. This is the largest coordinated oil reserve release in history. The move is meant to calm global markets after major disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most important oil shipping route. Nearly 20% of the world's oil passes through this narrow channel. Today, tensions escalated when 3 commercial ships were struck by projectiles in the Gulf. One of the vessels hit was a Thai-flagged cargo ship. According to reports, 23 crew members were on board. 20 were rescued, 3 remain missing. Iran has claimed responsibility for the attack and warned international shipping not to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, the U.S. military says it has destroyed 16 Iranian ships suspected of laying naval mines, which could potentially block the shipping lane. If the strait were closed completely, it could trigger a global economic crisis. Drone incident near Dubai. Security concerns are also rising in the Gulf region. 2 drones were intercepted near Dubai International Airport, the world's busiest airport for international passenger traffic. Officials confirmed 4 people were injured. The drones were intercepted before reaching the airport. This marks the second drone incident near the airport in 5 days, raising concerns about the safety of major civilian infrastructure across the region. Israeli strikes on Lebanon. Israel also expanded its military campaign in Lebanon. Heavy airstrikes struck the capital Beirut, targeting what Israel says are positions linked to Hezbollah. Authorities in Lebanon say nearly 600 people have been killed since the escalation began. One strike hit an apartment building in central Beirut, shocking residents who believed the neighborhood was safe. Later in the day, another strike hit the Ramlet al-Baida seafront, a popular beachfront area where many displaced families had been sleeping in tents and cars. Officials confirmed 7 people killed, 21 wounded. Witnesses reported shrapnel scattered across vehicles and buildings, with blood visible on the beach sand. For many residents, the attacks have created a sense that nowhere in the capital is safe anymore. Inside Iran, the conflict continues to take a heavy toll on civilians. Recent strikes targeted infrastructure near Kerman Airport, where thick black smoke was seen rising into the sky. Across the country, several cities have been hit during the conflict, including Tehran, Yazd, Karaj, Tabriz, Isfahan, Bushehr, Chabahar. Many of these locations include key military or nuclear-related facilities. Among the most significant targets were Iran's nuclear sites at Natanz nuclear facility, Fordo fuel enrichment plant, Isfahan nuclear technology center. These facilities were reportedly struck using powerful bunker-buster bombs. Messages gathered from civilians describe daily life under bombardment. Some say their sleep schedules now depend on the timing of airstrikes. Others say they discovered that friends or classmates had been killed during the attacks. War expands across the Gulf. Unlike last year's conflict, this year's war has spread across much of the Gulf region. Countries affected by missile or drone attacks now include Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman. Iran has targeted U.S. military bases across the region, while several American consulates have also reportedly come under attack. Strikes have even been reported as far as Azerbaijan and Turkey. The widening battlefield has dramatically increased the risk of a broader regional war. United Nations resolution diplomatic tensions also escalated at the United Nations Security Council. The Council passed a resolution condemning Iran's missile and drone attacks on Gulf countries. 135 countries co-sponsored the resolution, the highest number in UN history. The resolution demands Iran stop attacks on neighboring states. However, Russia and China abstained from the vote. Iran's ambassador rejected the resolution, arguing it ignored U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iranian territory,
which have violated the UN Charter and committed acts of aggression.
Russia's strategic position. The war is also creating geopolitical opportunities for Moscow. Russian President Vladimir Putin has spoken with both Donald Trump and Iranian leaders, offering to mediate in the conflict. Higher oil prices could benefit Russia's economy while it continues its war in Ukraine. Some analysts believe Moscow hopes the crisis will increase energy revenues, expand diplomatic influence in the Middle East, and improve relations with Washington. The scale and cost of the war. Compared to last year's 12-day conflict, the current war is far larger and more expensive. According to Pentagon estimates, the United States is spending around $2 billion per day to sustain military operations. That is nearly 10 times more than the estimated cost during the previous 12-day conflict in 2025. The United States has deployed a powerful military force including USS Gerald R. Ford, USS Abraham Lincoln, B-2 bombers, Tomahawk cruise missiles, stealth fighter jets. Iran, meanwhile, is responding with its own arsenal, including ballistic missiles such as Shahab-3, hypersonic missiles such as Fateh, large numbers of Shahed drones. Some of these weapons have managed to penetrate air defense systems across the Gulf region. Casualties across the region. The human cost of the war continues to rise. Iran has reported more than 1,300 deaths and over 10,000 injuries since the conflict began. But casualties have also been reported across the region. Lebanon has reported around 570 deaths. The United States has lost 7 military personnel. Several Gulf countries have reported injuries and damage. The conflict is now affecting civilians across multiple countries in West Asia. How long could the war last? One of the most searched questions globally is, how long will this war last? Military analysts say the conflict may not end quickly. Iran is relying on asymmetric warfare, avoiding direct confrontation, while using drones, missiles, and proxy forces to stretch the conflict. Its strategy is focused on survival. If the Iranian government remains in power after the war, it may claim victory despite the damage. Meanwhile, the United States believes it may be approaching the end game of its operations, and Israel says its objective is regime change in Iran. These different goals suggest the conflict could continue for weeks or even months. 12 days into the war, the conflict is expanding across the Middle East. Key developments now include attacks on shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, rising global oil prices and economic shockwaves, Israeli strikes across Lebanon, missile and drone attacks across the Gulf region, civilian casualties inside Iran, growing international involvement. With energy routes threatened and diplomacy struggling, the war is already reshaping global economics, regional security, and international alliances. And as the fighting continues, the biggest question remains unanswered: when and how will it end?